Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. I'm filming this early on Monday morning, having just gone through all the comments on my Sunday chat video, and thanks for all that, but I'm not going to post this video until either late today or possibly even Tuesday morning, and the reason for that is the Sunday chat video is still what I call active. It's still getting quite a few incoming views and comments. And if I post a new video, it tends to stop that dead in its tracks. So I'm holding this one. But as a consequence of all the comments, I have now devised a plan. And I think it's going to be pretty good. It's a lot of work, and so be it. That has to be done. There's no avoiding it. The work has to be done. But the longer term plan, I'm hoping, will mean that the work is a one-off, and it will either last a hell of a long time or it may just only need doing once. And some brilliant little ideas. There's one of them. What do you think? Well, what have I changed? Where's it pointing? It's pointing at the roof, and it's not circulating. So that was a brilliant idea. My circulating fans in the old grow room were to keep the plants cool. I don't have heat anymore. I don't want them getting chilled down by a blast of cool air. Yeah? So that's change number one. The circulating fan points at the roof. Thank you for that idea. Only one person came up with that. And that also means I maintain some air circulation, because I did suggest in the Sunday chat that I might stop that. That was dubious at the best of times. So that gets my circulation going again. Now we have the problem of the high humidity. That's relatively easy to solve by just opening the door to the lounge. Now, there were a lot of concerns about if there's mould in the air in the grow room, then the exchange of air would bring that mould into the house, which is a potential health issue. If you look at the volume of air in my lounge and kitchen and the volume of air in the grow room, if they mixed, the level of mould in the mixed air would be too low to have any effect. And you have to bear in mind the air in the lounge and kitchen is very dry air and warmer. So part of the plan will be, in the mornings we will open the door to the lounge and we will put that big fan in front of the door and turn it on. Now a fan blows air out the front. Well, to be able to do that, it's got to suck air in the back, hasn't it? And the air it will be sucking in is from the lounge. Yeah? So that will basically dilute the humidity. And I'll only need to do that in the mornings because the humidity build-up will be overnight. Right. So, two nice ideas with fans. And it means I don't have to have the big circulating fan on all day. It'll just be I can watch the humidity level on my gauges, on my little meters, to see when it drops down, and also see how high it is first thing in the morning. So that's that. Right, the level of humidity. If I've got much cooler temperatures in here, I don't need the humidity as high. Now that was mistake number one that's been cumulative. Yeah, was trying to maintain this sort of 75–80% humidity that I had in the other place. But what I also had in the other place was heat. So I now don't need that level of humidity. So let's drop the humidity down to a more sensible level for the actual temperatures that I've got. That will solve most of the problem. And the exchange of air using the air in the house will aid and abet that. Brilliant idea, came up from several people. I used to have an air cleaner, didn't I? Well, it got left behind when I moved because I'd stopped using it. Well, let's get another one then. Let's get a particle air cleaner that actually removes things like mould spores from the air, thus reducing the problem, I would suggest, significantly. Now, you can spend an awful lot of money on an air cleaner, but you don't have to. I've had a look at some reviews, and I've found a home air cleaner that is really, really highly recommended on the grounds that it has a permanent filter. So you don't have to keep paying for new filters all the time. Basically, it has a fixed filter that you can take out and clean. And you can clean it thoroughly and put it back in again. And it even has a little warning light on it that tells you when it needs cleaning. So I will get one of those. Now, okay, that's an expense. I'm trying not to spend too much money here. But given the workload out here, if I can avoid ever having to do it again, or cutting it down to perhaps once a year, I don't mind spending a little bit. And that comes in at less than £50, and it's highly recommended in several different reviews. So we will order one of those when I get going in a minute. But initially, there is a workload, and the workload is to clean off the mould residue on the hard surfaces. I'm not going to worry too much about the plants at the moment. It's the room, everything in this room. If I can sort that out and then reduce the ability for that mould to regenerate itself, then that's most of the battle, basically. I'll worry about the plants as and when I come across them. And the idea is, the work plan is, I've got my Physan 20, which, if it does happen to drip on the plants and everything, is relatively safe compared with any other types of cleaners, and it is recommended for use in areas where there are plants. So you know, it's got all the hallmarks of being the one to use, and I've got some, so I just as well use it. So I will convert the stupid American measurements to proper measurements. So we will convert an American tablespoon and an American gallon to millilitres and litres, so that it's sensible and damn sight more accurate, quite honestly. I've got the conversions, don't bother putting them in there, I've got them already, and I've written them down so that I don't forget them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up a quantity at the strength recommended for hard surfaces, and initially I'm going to put a fair bit of it in the sprayer. Oh, what's he up to now? Give me a chance, yeah? And some of it I will keep in a container with a cloth, yeah? So initially I'm going to clear off all the plants from a stand, one at a time this is. I'm not going to try and do too much at once. So I'll clear off all the plants from a stand, and then I'm going to take that stand outside onto the gravel beds where it can do no real harm, and I'm going to use the sprayer to spray the whole unit up underneath all the little crevices, and I will soak the unit with the Physan 20 from the sprayer, and then I will use the cloth to give it a wipe off, and I think that's probably the best it's going to get. And then while that is outside, perhaps drying off a bit in the breeze, the area of the building that I can now get at, because the shelving is out the way, I will also give a wipe over with the cloth, with the Physan 20 soaked cloth. So that cleans up the building, cleans up the stands one at a time. And while I'm at it, I might try and do the floor. Mould spores, although they can move around in the air, they do tend to drop down and rest on whatever they land on, basically. So obviously there's going to be mould spores on the floor that I can't see. So we may well give the floor a go as well. And I won't be able to do that. I'd have to do the floor a bit at a time. Yeah? So I perhaps could have a separate bucket and a mop mixed up with the Physan 20 again, sat to one side, and as I move things out like a shelf unit so that I can get at the building and wipe it off, I could also do that bit of the floor while I'm at it. and then put the shelving unit back nice and clean on that section of clean floor, put those plants back, move on to the next one. Now that's going to be a relatively tedious job, a slow process, and I can't see me doing that all in one day, quite honestly, because I'm going to get very fed up with it very quickly. But I have the need. It's got to be done. And I think the combination of all that, so I maintain my air circulation with the fan pointing at the roof, and the fact that this little fan is that powerful, you know, that air is hitting that far corner at the moment. And you know what air's like, when it comes up against a buffer, it goes all round, doesn't it? So it is circulating the air in here without blasting the plants and chilling them down. So we basically look after the plants a bit better by not getting them a blast of cold air all over them. We circulate the air with the fan pointing at the roof. We change the air in here most days, I won't say every day, most days. And you have to bear in mind that once we sort of get out towards October, I'm going to have to start using the heater out here. And the heater is connected to the big circulating fan when it comes on. So that will have a drying effect on the air and distributing that warmer air around the place. And I think the problem will go away at that point, simply because I'll have warmer, drier air. And who knows, it might even dry it out enough that the humidifier has to come back on now and again. I won't disconnect all that. That can stay there, even though it's hardly ever well, it doesn't come on at all at the moment. So that's the plan then. Today, this is Monday, following the Sunday chat. Today's job is to water everything out here so that I don't have to worry about it for the next couple of days. It'll all be done. Everything will get watered. And the other thing that's going to aid and abet this, that thing there, called a sprayer, apart from being used with the Visan 20, is going down in the shed. And it can flipping stay there. Because I think a lot of the problems have been caused by me being lazy and using the sprayer as a substitute for watering my plants properly. And it may even be that the plants, the mounts won't have suffered as a consequence, but some of the pots could have done, because they're not getting sufficient water from the sprayer, and they're ending up with dryness around the roots that they shouldn't have for longer periods than I would intend. So we get rid of the sprayer, and when I use the sprayer, the water's going on the pots, it's going on the shelving, and it's going on the floor. So we stop that dead in its tracks and start watering the old way, picking all the, you know, clear a shelf off one pot at a time and put the pots on my workbench while I complete the shelf, and then put those plants back on that shelf, move on to the next shelf. That way I get to look at the plants by picking them up, and I get to know whether or not they've had enough water, because as we get into the winter and I do that, I'll pick up some plants and think, well, you're still wet, you're not having any. Yeah? Well, with the sprayer, you can't do that. They all get it, whether they need it or not. So that's got to stop. So that's the plan. It's quite elaborate, and quite a few of the ideas have come from comments on the Sunday chat video. They are greatly appreciated. And the combination of those plus my own workload plan, you know, to actually get the place cleaned up in the first place, in the easiest way I can think of, and making sure that, you know, if I wipe the shelf unit over with a cloth, I'm not going to get it all. You know, I'm not going to get all up under the, you know, the plastic bits that hold the poles together. I'm not going to get all of the grill. You know, I'm just not going to get it all, but with the sprayer I will. I'll get every bit of it. And then the larger surface areas that we can see, I can wipe off so that we can then see if it ever comes back again. So obviously if I just leave it there, although it might be dead, it's still there, isn't it? We still see it. So get the surfaces wiped off and get everything clean and shiny again. And the whole place is going to stink of bleach, and it'll be horrible. But It is deemed that the smell from Physan 20 is harmless to plants and is recommended for cleaning up areas where you keep your orchids. So that's what we're going to do. And yeah, I'll keep you posted, but that is the plan. And it'll take a while to execute it in total, but it's going to be done. You know, at some point I'm going to have to get up and clean this plastic on the roof. Not the actual panels, they're okay. All the dirt and everything you can see on the panels is actually outside. And there are no leaks, there's no water gets in from outside. So all I've got to do is worry about, you know, getting rid of the humidity in the air and wiping these surfaces off with a substance that has residual effect. Apparently you wipe over with a cloth with the Physan 20 and its effect lasts about 7 days. So, you know, any reinfection from any mold spores that are still around should be dealt with over that period of time by blasting the air around with the circulating fan, and wherever those spores land, they should be killed. So, I suppose I better get on with it. I haven't had breakfast yet. But yeah, that's, you know, as I said, the plan today is to not do any of it, is to actually get everything watered so that I'm satisfied that there is no work. And the other thing that somebody suggested is we're constantly evaporating water off of the moss. The moss goes outside, so we get rid of that in here. Part of the reason those moss trays got put there was for a bit of stability on the bottom of the racks. Well, I'm going to have to do that some other way. I'm going to have to find something that's relatively heavy but not ridiculous, that'll sit on those two joining bars and give me some stability without having the humidity that the moss trays have got. It's native moss, it comes from the UK, so it can live quite happily outside. I've just got to find somewhere to put it where the cats can't get at it. I suspect the birds will help themselves at nesting time, but that's not now, that'll be next year. So, and I can afford a bit, you know, if they want to take a bit for their nests, they're welcome to it. So there we go. The overall plan is to get this place dried off, cleaned up, yeah, and then deal with the subsequent humidity level problems, which will be greatly reduced, therefore probably not even have any effect. And bear in mind that my constant humidity level does not have to be anywhere near as high as it used to have to be because of the lower temperatures. And as I said, the problem will go away when I start using the heater, so I haven't got to worry about it then till next year. So all I've got to do is worry about paying for the heater. So there we go. I'm pleased with the plan. I'm not pleased about having to do it, but it's got to be done. So, and I've never had to do it before. So, you know, and I'm hoping that, you know, with the additional, you know, longer term plan, that this big cleanup is a one-off and it shouldn't need doing again. That's the theory anyway. We will find out, but we're not going to find out unless I get it clean in the first place, so we'll get that done. And I'll give you progress updates as we go along, but yeah, thanks for your ideas, thanks for the help, and we'll go from there. I always said when I moved into this place it would be a totally different environment, and I have to give it a while to actually find out, you know, the differences. And the main difference is, you know, the lack of heat and holding the humidity like the other place never used to do. So there we go. See you next time.